So, good morning. um, Welcome to the second day of assembly and art tech seminars. My name is Sonia. I'm the lead coordinator of IGDA, Finland's International Game Developers Association, and we are hosting the art tech seminars this year. And today we'll start with presentation on data visualization by Tapio Nurminen. I'm very excited of this topic because the game developers have been fussing last maybe like 4 years about metrics and analytics. So anyone or everyone, whoever is doing browser-based, Facebook, mobile, social games, most likely is very focused on data, numbers, metrics, trying to understand what to get out of the information and how to improve the game. And I think next step further is to look at the data from the viewpoint of data visualization, and I'm happy to have Tapio here to tell about data visualization. Welcome. Oh yeah.
Thank you, Sonia. So good morning. I'm Tapio Nurminen from Flow Apps. I'm CEO of Flow Apps, and well, it's very exciting for me personally to be here because it's my first time to assembly. Actually, I have a degree from history originally, but well, I just had computing as a hobby, and then my hobby turned into a proper job. And over the years, I've been speaking at like Aalto University and now here at Assembly. So it's quite a departure to go from history field into all this computing and today gaming. I have to admit, I've never been a big of a gamer myself, game player. But it's very exciting to be here and very exciting to sort of delve into this field of computing. First, a couple of examples of what we've been doing as far as data visualization goes. Actually, we got into visualizations by doing a couple of open data projects. We've been around as a company, well, we were incorporated back in 2008. And then 2010, we wanted to sort of find like new ground where to work, and we got heavily involved in the Finnish open data scene. That's how we got into visualizations. And well, we did a couple of projects with Google Maps for Finnish Meteorological Institute. Then I think the first bigger visualization project we did was for Helsinki Region InfoShare project. We used mostly Google. Well, it's originally Gapminder, the tool that Google bought. Then this last winter we did a well, multifaceted timeline for Tekes. Then this is the project we've been working on last couple of months for the coming municipality elections in Finland. So there's all sorts of different information visualized on a map. So you can choose which municipality to take a look at or which region, and you can compare them and so forth. And well, not only Finland, we've also been working with Shadow Election, who are now marketing their sort of vaalikone kind of thing, election machine for the coming US presidential elections. So we also created the map thingy for their service. And well, this is the thing I'm personally most proud of. We took part in the World Bank's open data contest last year, and were one of the got one of the honorable mentions there. So we were invited. All of the finalists were invited to Washington D.C. and met with well, very nice people there, and it was really amazing, basically. Okay, so much for the our example cases. The topics for today. Sorry.
Can you move back there? Because I cannot see through.
Oh, sorry. I keep moving too much. The light is just so annoying here. Okay. Well, yeah, maybe we could change. Well, I'll be fine, I guess. Yeah, so here are the topics for today. Introduction, then some couple of words of terminology, game data mining, guidelines, and some ideas. Okay, so to start off, data without context has no meaning. Well, obviously, if you do any kind of computing, you will collect huge amounts of information in different logs and Excel files, you name it. But as long as you just have this raw data, it does not really have too much meaning for, you know, mere mortals. Here's a good example. If you take just the graph on the downside, this is the famous Facebook breakups. You know, people breaking up their relationships on Facebook. If you just take the graph, okay, there's different fluctuations there, but only after adding the times of the year, you realize there's certain patterns there. So that I think the highest peak in Facebook breakups is 2 weeks before Christmas. Then Christmas Day is apparently the lowest number of breakups in the time of the year. So only after having the context that the data starts to make some meaning. Then another point in using data, narratives are fundamental. You know, already back when I was studying history, everybody, a lot of attention was put on narratives. You know, obviously most of the things in history are one way or the other stories, but it's the same thing with data. There usually is a certain story to tell. Here's a very another famous example of data visualization, very extremely early one, from 1869, I think. Here's Napoleon's campaign against the Russians back in 1812. So that's the size of Napoleon's army when he started invading Russia. By the time he took over Moscow, his army was down to half of the original size. Then when he had to start the retreat, only a very few of his army made it back to Western Europe. So I think that's one of the best narratives I've seen, basically. Then there's also the temperature here, so you can compare these different indicators. Well, back in this period, obviously there were no computers yet. So it's, even though there are definitely different dimensions here, still it's, well, one-dimensional in the sense that there's no way that the user of this graph can manipulate the graph and see different or choose which indicators to view. Okay, then a couple of slides on terminology. First, the game telemetry. Well, that's the raw log data. as I said, which doesn't really have that much excitement into it just by itself. So on top of the telemetry, we need to have metrics one way or the other. And these are something that already have the human interpretations into them, like average play time, or how many daily active users we have. By the time we have game metrics, we've already made some decisions on what kind of phenomena to take a look at. And finally, game data mining is about computed or finding patterns in these data sets by computers, so that the computer actually finds these certain patterns in a larger ocean of data. I have to admit, Flow apps, we have not really done too much data mining, but from what I heard or read, it's definitely a phenomenon that's on the increase, just obviously because by now we have so much game data that it's very difficult for just humans to find the patterns in the data. Well, like here's an visualization of the internet back in 2003, I think. So by then, obviously, the internet was already way too huge for any human to grasp the idea of it. But then with this visualization, you start to see the different nodes and different center points there. Yeah. Yeah. Have you heard me at all? Okay, good. Then new questions also arise. What data should we record? How should we analyze it? And how do we convert the data just from raw data into proper knowledge? Here are some ideas from gamasutra.com on why to use data mining in MMOGs. Balance the game economy. One idea was to catch cheaters. If you have people sort of cheating the game, you can spot them more easily by using data mining. Then also cut production costs by finding the sort of the bottlenecks within the game. And also, of course, to improve the customer experience. Then to move on from data mining into creating visualizations. Here's an example. This is actually the Bible visualized. Here are the intertextual references within the Bible. And as you can see, well, actually, the makers of this visualization, they themselves said that it's more really a piece of art rather than really a intertextual tool to find these references. Many times, a certain end of visualization, it really narrows on art rather than something useful. I found these 8 questions at the game analytics site. There's a startup in Stockholm. They don't have too much information about themselves yet, but apparently they are planning to offer like outsourced data mining and analytics into gaming. And well, these a lot of stuff on their site looked very promising. So I definitely recommend for you guys to take a look into what they're doing. The questions. First, if you want to create visualizations, what is the goal of the visualization? What do you want to achieve? Many times, well, just like with the Bible example, it's with all the data available, there's no end to what kind of visualizations you could create. So you have to start with really core questions like what really saves users time here, what really serves the users better. Is there visualizations that could improve the PR value of the game? Is there something that could, like websites, is there something that could increase the stickiness of the users so that the users would spend more time on the website? The examples are from game analytics side, actually. What I really liked was that their examples were from within a company, which underlines the thing that not only do you have to create visualizations for the outside users, but you can also use them visualizations within your company to streamline the processes within the gaming company. Okay, once we've started with a goal, let's go to we have to think what is the target audience and in what context. Our examples, as I said, are from within the company. So then we start to think what the visualization should consist of. And as I showed with the Napoleon example, visualizations have been around for quite a long time by now, but the definite added value of computing is the interaction. So most likely you would want to have different selectors within your visualizations to make it more interactive. Then the fourth question, what data is needed to create the visualization? How detailed does the data have to be? Then how do we get and maintain the data? Often at this point you realize that you don't necessarily collect all the information that you need. Depends on the logging, of course. Then is the data consistent? Then what design should we apply to the visualization? Many times I've felt that we've gotten the best results by doing benchmarking. Just taking a look at different visualizations on the web and so forth, just to get ideas. And also I think it's very good to draw inspiration from some completely different field, because after a while you start to, like, everybody's using the same histograms and you sort of get stuck with them. So how about just drawing inspiration from something like 15th century art or completely different? Then finally, is the visualization understandable? If not, then you have to, especially touch screens, we've often found out that it's pretty, well, it's one thing to make visualizations for PCs and desktop computers, laptops, but then when you have touch screens, you have to have slightly different JavaScript events, and and then of course just not only usability but also the sheer comprehensibility of the visualization. Sometimes something that's very obvious to you may not necessarily be so to the end users. Okay, here we had the questions for visualizations. Do you guys have questions at this point? No? I still have the last part of the presentation left, which is to show a couple of ideas on how to use gaming data. So, well, I'll go through my examples and then you'll still have some time left for interaction. So, for this presentation, we tried to find examples on the net on gaming data visualization and infographics, and we were a bit disappointed, really. There's not too much of this stuff online so far. Here are some infographics on Battlefield 3. These were pretty decent. At least they had some data, which is not always the case. And what I really liked here is that at least this site did have the interaction here. So you have different drop downs where you can select which indicators to show. I think that's more or less the whole point of creating online visualizations, to have that interaction there. Then, well, maybe because I have this history background, I'm pretty interested in timelines, on how things happen in time. So if you like have a successful game, why not make a timeline of it, how your game evolved over time? Then I think as far as the metrics go, the device distribution has been a pretty hot topic over the past couple of years. Well, Google Analytics offers very, very nice graphs into it on your websites, or on your website tracking, to see how what devices the users use. Then we've been making these different widgets quite often. I think they are a nice way of sort of hinting about the product on to new users. We did find a couple of sites with where you could create widgets for yourself with your data, and I think that would be a good way to market your game. So that if I'm an active player of a certain game, I could create a widget with my own gaming data, and then embed that widget on in my blog or website. That would be a good way to market games, I would think. Then these different impact cards. I think GitHub is using this very visualization for the impact. I think that would sort of appeal to the sort of sense of duty of gamers. Like if you see that you've not been very active lately, maybe that would make you more active again. Then we've been dealing with maps a lot, and especially if you have a global game, or well, you can have a regional game just as well, but still to visualize the data on a map and see the global trends. That's very, very interesting to do. What we've been doing quite a bit is to use Twitter data. We actually we did some experiments. We didn't really develop it too much further, but we did have some experiments with Angry Bird, hashtag Angry Birds, and see how it peaks in different parts of the world. So if your game is if it has a hashtag that's get lots of attention on Twitter, I definitely recommend taking a look at the Twitter data as well. Here's another game visualization. As I said, I was really quite disappointed with not finding too much of them. But Counter-Strike data has been, I think it was only like 2 months ago that they, this spring, that they released this heat map of where the action happens. Here too, it's interactive as it should be, so you can filter, you can choose which weapon to visualize, and then you see where most of the shootings take place. This was done by Valve. the American gaming company, and I think I have another. Yeah, here's another example from them. So as far as I could see, most of the nice looking interactive graphs came from them. Well, that's a pretty boring graph, but still, at least they have something online. Heat maps have also been applied to football. Here are the New York Times visualizations on soccer. So very heat mapping has been very popular over last 2 years or so. Then a tip on visualizations. I'm almost to the end of my presentation. In late September, there's going to be Open Knowledge Festival in Helsinki, and some of the very leading guys of the field, Hans Rosling, Stefan Moritz, are going to be around. So I definitely recommend for you guys to come and take a look at the festival in September. And as I mentioned in the data mining part, I think obviously the thing with creating visualizations is to create more interest in the games. And I'm quite sure if you released gaming data online, made it possible to the players to take a look at their personal gaming data, that would increase their interest in the games and probably increase the time they spend playing games. I got pretty excited about this stuff, so I have to start gaming too. And of course, we would be very happy to help with creating visualizations. It would be a very interesting experiment for ourselves too, because as I said, most of our clients have been these bigger institutions like Kuntaliitto, Tekes, these municipality organizations. So it'd be very, very exciting to create visualizations with the gaming data. As far as the tools we use, it's mostly JavaScript, different JavaScript libraries, Raphael especially. Okay, so I hope you still have energy to ask something. So go ahead.
Because I was playing with my microphone, so I guess it's not working. Hey, yes. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. No questions? Then I guess I'll take the opportunity to sort of comment or ask myself. I think one thing that I hadn't been thinking of, but that's actually super relevant is your points on Twitter data or similar marketing or community data. There's more and more focus on supporting the communities, having community managers working for a particular game, whether there are in browser-based Facebook cases millions of users, on mobile a bit fewer, but still there's a lot of work to be done around communities, and the many companies tweet this and that, but usually there is not that much value out of like, or you can basically see like what's the concrete value of spreading the word. Is it spreading? Okay, you can see retweets, but then again, it doesn't really give the full picture. So I think that's really like, if there's some community managers in the audience, I think that would be something they should really be like thinking of. Of course, the analytics or like project managers hassling with metrics. That's clearly the other audience who is like trying to figure out better ways to understand the data that they have on hand. But yeah, just more of a comment, and I just wanted to highlight the Twitter example you had.
Yeah, with Twitter data, I think the main criticism often is that it's sort of white noise. You know, sometimes you just get these random tweets. So as long as, especially if you have, lower number of tweets, it's not maybe that indicative. But then when you really have like hundreds of tweets on a certain topic, you definitely start to see the patterns there. And personally, I'm a big fan of Twitter's API because it's easy to use. And also with the geolocation, you can see, you can pinpoint the tweets pretty accurately on a map.
Sorry, what is the most interesting project you've been involved with, like for yourself?
Well, as I said, that World Bank thing was quite an experience because they did it really nicely. The World Bank opened up a lot of open data. Then they had this contest on using it, and then, as I said, they invited all the finalists to Washington D.C. and so on. So that was, quite an experience. But then, as far as the projects go, I'm really happy with having worked with different kinds of data. That's why I said it'd be great to work with gaming data too, because you learn from, like, Teke's data is completely different from that Kuntaliitto project. So I've been happy with all the projects we've been dealing with. I would say that municipality data is pretty cool because we have both the Finnish map there, but then you can zoom into the map and you have the histograms there and so on. So usually when you have these different elements within one visualization, that's the coolest thing to have.
Yeah, wait.
How hard is it like to find a guy or like a person who's both interested in graphics and also the science behind the numbers, so that there's like the persons who are finding the data and then the one who's designing the very visual like experiences for the viewers. So how hard is it to find these people? Do you have any experience of this?
Well, I do have it. Does it work? Yeah. To find these features in one single person, I think that's extremely rare. I don't know if there are. Well, there must be some, but as you probably know, like with web design, I think it's pretty similar. That creating games. It's extremely important to understand what the other person is doing. Usually, you have to have a team where you have one person who really knows the maths behind the data, or how to do data mining. As I said, that's something that we don't do. Or haven't done so far. But you have to have the maths person, the data person, and then you have to have the graphic designer. Usually you have to have at least two people or more the project manager, so on. But it's very important for these different people to sort of understand what the other one is doing. You know, that's really the beauty of it. I don't know about you, but you know, back in when I was doing my degree, what I really, in hindsight, I really hate the fact that most of the people doing an arts degree, we were only hanging around with arts people, and you know, you don't really get that much interaction, and especially with this kind of stuff, you have to know how to deal with people from different backgrounds, and also appreciate what they're doing. You know, that's very important.
Okay, guys, last chance. And we'll thank Tapio. Thanks a lot.